Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 8 of the anime series Plastic Memories. And this one was an emotionally rocking episode that was frankly a long time coming, because I'm somebody who's been watching the series and really loving it, but I've had lingering questions to do with the reclamation process of these Giftias, and as we've had hinted in previous episodes, the idea of, swapping out their OS, their operating system, and giving them back to the person who owns them under a new guise, potentially. We've had some answers as far as when these Giftias, their time is up and they become wanderers, and they sort of go off the grid of their mentality and their personality and the dangers of that involved and everything like that. But we're very much starting this episode with Tsukasa and Ida going to reclaim this particular Giftia, who's like the granddaughter or daughter of, adoptive, of course, this old woman, and she opts basically to swap out the OS, and she wants to keep the Giftia, and she hints that she's done this before. And this really snowball effect, prompts Tsukasa into motion of mulling over the idea of, can Giftias, once their operating system is swapped out, can they still, sort of harness those memories of old and, reclaim their own personality of old? And that really largely comes into question, and I thought pleasantly, surprisingly so, with the character of Eru. She is sort of the female equivalent of the pervert of the group, and for her character, who is mostly relegated to comic relief, to have so much heartening story and characterization in this episode was very much welcome, because we've been given that with so many of these other characters, especially the idea that Kazuki, we find out she is the one who put into motion this aspect of Division 1's, trying to pick up in the aftermath of reclaiming these Giftias and make it an easier transition for the human beings involved that they have to reclaim the Giftias from. And all other divisions, they don't operate that way, and they're getting in trouble a lot of the time because of the overhead, as they say in this episode. And we've seen in a previous episode, the boss man was called into the home office, and he was scolded and, reprimanded. They were threatening to shut his operation down if he didn't start, cutting back on all the spending involved to keep up and have sort of a emotional maintenance after the fact. And we see that was Kazuki who put that into motion, which I thought was a very interesting revelation, given the fact that slowly but surely over the course of the series, we've seen what played into her cutting off Ida and calling it quits with her, and the fact that she lost a limb and how that pertained to Michiru's father and all that kind of stuff. I just find it very intriguing that she would want to cut off Ida, to that degree, but then she would have this sort of, compassionate side that would want to help people deal with that, sort of phantom limb familial syndrome that would be following up. But as I say, with Eru's character, they basically have, once the first sort of operation is all said and done, they have this Division 3 marksman come in because they have a girl and her Giftia, sort of boyfriend or surrogate lover, whatever you want to call it, are on the run, and this marksman ends up being the repurposed, Giftia physicality, the chassis, if you will, face, body, everything is exactly the same. The inside, the soul, has been swapped out and changed, of someone Eru once had a relationship with, a Giftia that she knew very well. And she, refers to as having been her neighbor. But you can see that there was a lot more closeness going on there. And Eru immediately assumes this to be her partner of old, so to speak. I believe the name was Olivia, and I think it's Andy now, or vice versa, I forget exactly. But the point being, she's very much depressive when she realizes, oh, I made a mistake. I was getting all touchy-feely with this person, and she doesn't know who I am, and it's my memories conflicting with that, and she has a history with this person. And so I like that they're bringing in this conflict, and as I say, utilizing a character that has been relegated to comic relief to do that. And it's somebody else in the office framework of, this terminal service that we've had as yet to really get to know, and I feel like it goes leaps and bounds in heartening and giving characterization to the Eru character, to see her dealing with this and how that coincides with what Tsukasa is trying to cope with and understand. And Ida, even, herself is mulling this over. She is very much mentally in step with where Tsukasa is, his concerns, his qualms. He's going and talking to Michiru about it. He, talks to Eru about it. She really comes to him seeking help and seeking support because, this Andy new version Giftia wants to go to this amusement park. Again, we're visiting an amusement park, but just the importance of that backdrop as it pertained to Ida's own history with Kazuki and how Tsukasa I won't say exploited that, but used that to help solidify the bond he has with Ida in a sense, and sort of showing her the appreciation she needs to have for the remaining time she has and the memories that she can build in that time, and how much simply and plainly she means to Tsukasa. It all coincides because it's almost the same exact framework with Eru and this Andy Giftia. And so, they basically all as a foursome go to this amusement park. And I didn't expect some of the twists and turns that, come toward the end of this episode at all. I thought we were mainly going to be focused on Eru and this Andy Giftia. And, Eru basically says to Tsukasa, use me. Use me as the template to answer your questions, because you're going to see firsthand that it can't be the way you think it can. The Giftia that you pour your heart out to, it's gonna have to change. There is a finality to it. It is gonna come to an end, and you're gonna have to evolve and move on. And even to this point, Eru hasn't. She's had a lot of trouble doing that, and this sort of has re-inflamed all of those emotions and brought it very much to the surface for Eru, because, even down to the flavor of a drink, you can tell by Eru's reaction that when the Andy Giftia was Olivia previously, she probably didn't like it. She probably hated it. Now she loves it. It's a different person. The face is the same, but everything internally is different. And so there's a sense of a loss of hope for Tsukasa along those lines. And, Eru's very much there in her own unique way to say, look, kid, this is the way it is, but, we all go through it. This is all something much like life. C'est la vie, such is life. This is something we all have to deal with. These are concerns we all, in this plastic memories framework, have to deal with. And, it's about just picking up your feet and moving on, moving forward. And at that point, the fireworks are starting to go off, and, I still really thought the crux of the episode was to be focused upon Eru and Andy/Olivia. And this is where Tsukasa realizes that Ida has been lost. He just warned her, don't get yourself lost. And she's kind of scolding him. I'm not a child. I won't get lost. What happens? She gets lost. So he goes looking for her. And they have this whole musical montage, sort of. I knew already at the opening of the episode when we had no OP music and, opening credits and everything, that there was going to be an element of heart to this episode. Little did I know or expect that when he finds her, he would kind of become supportive and nurturing and take her hand and comfort her. And the conversation would turn to something I've been waiting for a long time for Ida just put into words. We know she's been feeling this way since the very start. But finally, 8 episodes in, she voices her concerns about, am I hurting you to Tsukasa? Is my being around you, is your worrying about the time we have left and that coming to an end, is it causing you pain? Because I don't want to do that. She loves him. Whether she can confront those emotions or not, or understand what they are. There's so much as a Giftia she still doesn't seem to be able to process. And I like how many times in this episode she's just like, error, I don't understand, can't compute. Whenever she has a problem, she doesn't want to face or confront. But, amidst the fireworks going off, Tsukasa embraces her. He pleads for her. Yes, it's the most painful thing ever, but it's kind of like when there's someone you love who's terminally ill and you don't want to leave them. You want to have every moment, every waking moment you want to spend with them to the end, to the last. And he professes this to her and he says, I'm in love with you. He finally admits to it. And I love how sort of comedically you have off to the side Eru and Andy, you know, eavesdropping on this and just being enamored by this and everything. And it almost calls into question, was this all set up for their benefit? But obviously it wasn't. It was a lot to do with Eru and Andy's, you know, sort of side story having so much to do with and so much in common with Tsukasa and Iris, as I say. And the fireworks going off, illuminating this, and of course we cut off right there, and not before I noticed sort of the last fireworks that go off behind them. If you freeze framed that, there's a sort of sketch outline in the light up, you know, flaming firework essence that is reminiscent to like a fiery phoenix, something reborn. And I don't know if this was just my eyes making a pattern out of all of the little, you know, balls of light and everything, and just coming to that conclusion erroneously, or if that was done intentionally because of this scenario of the idea of Arda, you know, her life being soon to be terminated, and the idea of the phoenix flame, a phoenix reborn and all that kind of thing. But of course, after we go through the end credits, we have the comical continuation of this scene where Arda is just completely dumbstruck, thunderstruck by this revelation, and she bows her head, almost squealing, "I can't do this." And you hear Eru and Andy like, "Why can't you do this? You know, we've come this far." And I think that plays into Ida's own qualms about causing Tsukasa pain and causing the people around her pain, much as I was discussing in a previous episode discussion video, where she wants to focus on the smaller things, getting tea for her friends and co-workers, and not even being friendly, keeping a distance, because she feels pain internally at the idea that her time is limited, but she also feels pain knowing that she's causing pain in others, and she wants to limit as much as possible any aspect of inflicting pain on the people that she otherwise loves and cares about, and vice versa. And I think that's where we're left by the end of this episode, and it's just emotionally rocking. The entire sequence of Tsukasa seeking her out and embracing her and exposing how he feels about her, I was getting misty-eyed, and it was like, you know, grab me the tissues as soon as he professes his love. I did have one little qualm about his saying, "I'm in love with you." I felt like he should have just said, "I love you," instead of "I'm in love with you," you know, but just a sort of writer's, you know, little qualm, how I would have worded it if I had written it myself. But it was just a very emotionally rocking episode. And you know, for all of these things to be playing into, as I say, multiple facets with Tsukasa and Ida, with Eru and Andy/Olivia, and how those conflict, those situations conflict, as well as correspond to each other, and giving us the answers of, you know, seeing a Giftia whose operating system has been newly, you know, completely swapped out. How they become a different person, and how that can affect the humans who still carry the memories around with them all the time, especially when they've had a connectivity to that person, to that being. It's just absolutely fascinating. It was beautiful. It was heartening and heart-wrenching, and you know, I'm just left awed and wondering where the hell it's going to go next, what's going to happen next, and how this is going to play out. Will there be a finality of Ida, you know, her life coming to an end? Will there be sort of this essence of their swapping out her operating system, and Tsukasa's beginning a whole new journey with a new Ida, or a new being in her personification, her guise? And as I've speculated, will we see Michiru and Tsukasa come together in the aftermath? I think if it were me, I would write it sort of that way. I would end it with that in mind, that, you know, Ida, her chassis, her body, if you will, while her soul ends and is finite, the chassis and the body will move on to newer things and newer adventures as repurposed by the Terminal Service Agency and all this kind of stuff. And Tsukasa, maybe he would have his eyes awakened toward this girl who obviously is smitten with him, and to comedic effect, whenever Zack gets a jab in at her like he did in this episode, "Oh, you're concerned about this?" You know, as he says to her, and she's, of course, being the tsundere that she is, she doesn't want to admit to it, you know, but whatever. I love all of those aspects, and I'm just really, I love that we have so much going on, and so much attachment to these characters built up, that I feel like I'd lose sleep if I couldn't find out what eventually happens to them all. And I'm dying to find out. And that's where I'm left by the end of this episode. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of Episode 8 of Plastic Memories, if you've seen it, and where you speculate the story may be going from this point on. And so yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.